Hello everybody. I'm now reading a document of writing and research workshop on citation. So this document is from American Center, Cambodia. My main purpose is to practice my reading and also to get to know some information, family information that I should learn, and maybe I could practice on my own. And I want to share it to everyone as well, and I will keep it on my YouTube channel. So please don't mind me because I just read. I'm just getting reading this one. Okay, so let's get started. So writing and research workshop citation June 18, 2021, presented by Sam Okafe, part of the Roadmap to University Workshop Series. Road to University Workshop Series preparation. Apply, attend, beyond. If you miss any of our past sections, email American Center K8 at state.gov to get the slides. Contents: writing and research workshop citation. 1. What is citing a source? 2. Why borrow ideas and why cite them? 3. What should we cite? 4. Finding good sources. 5. How to cite. A step-by-step guide. 6. Synthesizing, making your own ideas from others. 7. Important takeaways. 8. Resources. 9. Questions and comments. What is citing a source? What it means to cite a source. Source: someone or something from which you get information. Show in your own that you took information, words, ideas, figures, images, etc. from another place and that it is not your own. A way to identify a source, book, article, interview, etc. so that people reading our work can see what sources we use. Taken from our MIT Library Guides. Why and when do we borrow from other people's ideas, and why do we cite them? Why do we use sources in the first place? Because everything we say does not come from our own original ideas. To have formed our own arguments and ideas based on others' information, ideas, etc., expressed by other people. To show our ideas are not simply a personal opinion. To show that we have read many sources to reach an informed conclusion. To show we are taking analytical and critical approaches. Spread others' ideas so they reach bigger audience. See what information exists on a certain topic, what gaps there are, and how we did it. And from the University of Sydney, why and how to use sources. When do we consult other sources? Academic, professional, and informal settings. When we are doing research to gather information for different works that we are completing, including essays, speeches, articles and reports, grants, presentations. When we want to inform ourselves about a certain topic and talk about that with others. Why do we cite sources that we use? Show to someone reading your work that you did enough research to present your topic or ideas, consulted enough ideas to develop your own position. Avoid plagiarism. Do not represent someone else's ideas, information, etc. as your own. Give credit to others for the work they have done to gather and produce information, advance ideas, etc. Tip: put yourself in the creator's shoes. Why do we cite sources that we use? Intellectual property, IP, any original creation of the human intellect, such as artistic, literary, technical, or scientific creation. People who create or invent things are given intellectual property rights, IPR, patent, copyright, trademark, etc. In the US, words are treated as property, such as a car. In Cambodia, Berne Convention, Agreement on Trade-related aspects of intellectual property rights, TRIPS, taken from Saha and Bhattacharya 2011. Why do we cite source-led use? When we cite and keep track of our sources, we construct better and more powerful arguments. See if you are including different perspectives on the same topic. Make stronger, more informed arguments. Address the countered arguments. Make sure you are not relying on one source, but borrowing from several sources. What are we supposed to cite? What is common knowledge? What isn't? We do not cite anything that is considered common knowledge. Information then an average educated older reader would know and trust without looking it up. Information most people know, information shared by national or cultural group, knowledge shared by members of a field. Note that what may be common knowledge for one audience may not be common knowledge for another. Ask yourself, who am I writing for? What can I assume they already know? Will I be asked where I got the information? Taken from MIT Handbook on Academic Integrity. What is common knowledge in prison? Note that what may be common knowledge for one audience may not be common knowledge for another. Information most people know, the world is made up of ocean and land. Information shared by national or cultural groups. Juneteenth is a national holiday in the US that celebrates the emancipation of African Americans from enslavement. Knowledge shared by members of a field. According to the Big Bang model, the initial explosion was produced when an infinitely hot, dense center referred to as a singularity began to expand, giving rise to the particles that eventually formed into our universe. Taken from MIT Handbook on Academic Integrity. What information should I cite? Not specific facts that never change, laws of thermodynamics, a mathematical equation, dates of events, etc. Data sets, figures, ideas, or other information that is not considered common knowledge. Ideas, words, various exact language used in the publication. Publication equal book in terms of book, chapter, article, page, web page, thesis, etc. Another person's exact words, when in doubt, cited. Taken from MIT Library Citing Sources Overview. Where should I look for other people's ideas? Where to find sources? Places to look at the internet. Many sources are published. Books, journal articles, scholarly articles, newspapers, magazines, periodicals, surveys, reports, etc. But sources can be anything. Personal interviews, tweet, podcast, blog, cartoon, sent from a movie, photograph, etc. Sources can be a poem, painting, historical document, dataset, and or what others have said about that source, primary and secondary sources taken from Vassar College. Going to the source. How to see if a source is credible or not. Credible source, a trustworthy source that provides information backed up by facts. Steps to take to evaluate a source credibility. Be skeptical and don't take a source content at face value. Examine earned authors' credentials, levels of expertise or authority on the topic, and see if their work has been reviewed. Examine the sources they use. Ensure that the source is up to date. Look out for websites, sources that use vague or sensational language. Do not look professional. Many grammar spelling errors have a lot of clickbait and spam messages, etc., and whose addresses earn in code. Taken from paper Pell. Use and what to use, what not to use, and what to use. Do not use Wikipedia as a source, however, can use Wikipedia to find sources. Do not use Facebook posts, personal blogs, or forums. Make sure author of a text cites their sources, has expertise or authority on the topic, and their work has been reviewed. Use scholarly databases, JSTOR, Google Scholar, ProQuiz, DOAJ, magazines and newspapers, New York Times, Southeast Asia Globe, New Yorker, Washington Post, etc. Taken from bibliography.com. Example of a bad source on the internet. Example of bad source on the internet. Writing 3 here. Archive for December 2008. Writing class in September semester 3. When you can go to the source. In your research, you will probably find sources that quote or use others' sources. In this situation, it is best to go to the original source. Do not rely on an author's interpretation of another person's ideas, data, information, etc. Many articles that are incredible, that are written for a lay audience, have links to the research studies that they consulted. It is best to go to the studies themselves to understand the data yourself. Note: who is citing whom? You cannot find the original source. Note in your citation that one author is cited by another author and that you did not access the original source. Example, you find this on a scholarly blog. To John Butler, Yeats, 14 March 1916, U.S. has been turning over a book of Japanese paintings and remarks of their delight in form and ordering of natural objects without resort to imitation. W.B. Yeats' letter to John Butler Yeats, 14 March 1916, quoted in David Equick, Japanese Orientalism, Modernism, a bibliography of Japan in English language verse of the early 20th century, 2003. Imagine.net/bib/b/bl/ Note who is citing whom. You cannot find the original source. Note in your citation that one author is cited by another author and that you did not access the original source. Example, you find this on the scholarly. How to cite step-by-step guide. Research is heard all sources you borrow from. Citing must be a part of the entire process of writing a text, not only for the end of the writing process. In your notes and outline, note the source where each idea came from so you can relocate them. Make a list of your sources and number them. For phrases you copy from the source, put in quotation mark. Essential information to include author names, title of the book, article, journal where you got information, date the source was published, page numbers. Make sure you can return to the source if you need. Writing pace. Bibliography. Bibliography lists at the end of our text all the sources we consulted. Format and content of the citation change depending on what we are citing and the citation style. Find style guides here. Common elements in all styles of citations: author, article title, source title, volume and issues, publication date, page numbers. Example citation in Modern Language Association MLA format. Languages are new methods of drug delivery. Science 249.4976 1990 152733 taken from MIT Library Citings Sources Overview. Begin work cited page on separate paper after paper label page work cited and center it at the top. Double space all citation but no space between citation. Indent second and subsequent lines by 0.5. Put sources in list in alphabetical orders by author's last name. All words capitalized in titles of books, articles, unless earned, death or preposition. All in entries end with period. Include name of online database if source originally in print taken from Purdue OWL. Writing place in citations. Also have to make citation in the text. Parentheses, footnotes. The information that goes in earned into citation changes according to what the source is, how the source is entered on the work cited page. The word or phrase used in text citation must be same as first word in work cited citation taken from Purdue OWL. I think this parenthetical citation. LLA style in text citations include author last name and page number. Romantic poetry is characterized by the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. Worth 263. Author last name first, page number second, no comma and punctuation after close parentheses. In work cited page, word verse, comma, William, full stop, lyrical ballads, full stop, Oxford GP, comma, 1967, taken from Purdue OWL. Writing verse, footnote citation. Footnote citation when you have a lot of sources and when your professors or authority does not want you to use parenthetical citation, MLS or APA. You are using Chicago or other styles. Footnotes are indicated in the text by a superscript number, and the footnote itself appears at the bottom of the page on which it appears, taken from Purdue OWL. Writing phase footnote citation. The book Lawrence is compared to a collapse who has stepped out from the pages of the Arabian Nights. Superscript is small, high number that appears after punctuation. Also names title of work in quotes, city, publisher, year, page number. Taken from Purdue OWL. Writing phase quoting. Sometimes we want to include a person's exact words, and when we do this, we use quotation marks to indicate the words are not our own. When you borrow 3 or 4 words in a row from another source, you must add quotation marks. Example block quote, we are working with. The Chinese believe in constant change, but with things always moving back to some prior state. They pay attention to a wide range of events. They search for relationships between things, and they think you can't understand the parts without understanding the whole. Westerners live in a simpler, more deterministic world. They focus on salient objects or people instead of the larger picture, and they think they can control events because they know the rules that govern the behaviors of objects. From Richard A. Nisbel's The Geography of Thought, How Asians and Westerners Think Differently. Writing phase quoting. Example block quote, we are working with. Okay. Can choose parts of quote to share, break up quote with ellipses, and add in compare or contrast words. For this way. Writing phase, including a block quote. If you want to include a block longer than 4 lines, indent whole quote by 0.5, add parenthetical citation at the end of quote. Remove quotation mark. Indeed, Nisbet explicates well the nuances of this difference between the two groups. Writing phase, paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is stating a given passage or idea in your own words. It should communicate in the main ideas of the passage as well as the details of the passage. Helps you not use too many quotes in your writing. Tips for paraphrasing. Reread the passage until you understand its meaning. Look away from the passage and write a paraphrase. Compare the paraphrase with the passage and make sure you didn't miss any details. Use quotes for any unique term or phrases borrowed from text, taken from Purdue OWL. Writing phrase, paraphrasing. Example paraphrase of the above passage. This way. Writing phase, summarizing. Summarizing source means that you shorten or condense a source while still communicating its main idea. Tips for summarizing. Reread the passage or whatever you want to summarize and try to understand its main idea. Remove from the passage all of the details that are not necessary for understanding the main idea. State the main idea in your own words without any of the details. Reread your summary and make sure it is much shorter than the original passage and does not contain unnecessary details. Writing as summaries. A sample summary of the above passage in this way. Writing phase, integrating sources into your text. Putting the sources into your writing is a skill. You can best integrate sources by using signal and leading phrases which usually come right before a quote or paraphrase. According to Nibet, a person's name, work of Nibet indicates that he accuses, believes, asserts, acknowledges, believes, points out, implies, suggests. Draw attention to, highlights, and underscores, explains, observes, illustrates. Disagreement. Nisbat rejects, denies, refutes. Taken from Purdue OWL signal and leading phrases. Writing phase, words for integrating sources. Active words for writing about text. Advises, affects, alludes to, accuses, builds, clarifies, confirms, connotes, constructs, conveys, creates, criticizes, denotes, depicts, describes, determines, demonstrates, displays, encourages, emphasizes, establishes, evokes, exaggerates, examines, simplifies, expands, explains, explores, espouses, foreshadows, foretells, highlights, hints, illustrates, impacts, implies, indicates, informs, introduces, juxtaposes, manifests, narrates, persuades, portrays, presents, refers, retails, remarks, represents, reveals, shows, signifies, symbolizes, suggests, supports, tells, typify. Taken from SlideShare presentation based for analytical writing, Kelly Elizabeth. Editing, finalizing phase, taking our citation. Checking for plagiarism, read your work over to look for any places where you think there needs to be a citation. Having friends, family, teachers read can be a good way to check whether you need more citation. Add to your in-text citations and bibliography if needed. Formatting, check in-text citation, check bibliography, make sure in-text citations and bibliography match. A note on online plagiarism and citation tools. Disagreement on whether online citation tools should be used. Generally, it is okay to use these tools to support your citing process. However, using these should not replace your own rereading and editing process. Online citation tool. You can use citation procedure for users like EasyBeef or BeefMe, which create the citation for you after you input the information about the source. Online plagiarism checkers. Many are free and accurate. Will give a percentage of match between your paper and others. Shows honesty and integrity. Synthesizing others' ideas. Tips on crafting your own original ideas. Using others' ideas to make our own original idea. Citing does not mean that none of what we write is our own. We enter into a conversation with others by reading their ideas and combining them in a way that no one else has before. Difference between synthesizing and summarizing. Summarizing is restating the ideas of someone else in a few sentences. Synthesizing, seeing how your sources agree or disagree and trying to make a broader conclusions about the topic, taken from Purdue OWL. Using others' ideas to make our own original ideas. For each source you consult, ask yourself this question: what opinion do the authors have on this topic? What do they think? What background or discipline do they come from? Why might they think of the topic of issues in this way? How do their viewpoint on the topic and background relate to my achievement and ideas? Does the author agree or disagree with my other sources? How and in what ways? How can I consider all of the perspectives expressed by my sources in my achievement? And how can I resolve them or explain their disagreement? Taken from Sunny Empire State College, Finding Sources. Example writing an argumentative synthesis. Include different perspectives on the same topic to make a single argument of your own. Examples of that synthesis. Parents are always trying to find ways to encourage healthy eating in their children. Elena Pell Beth Joseph, a doctor and writer for Kids Health, encourages parents to be role models for their children by not dieting or vocalizing concerns about their body image. The first popular diet began in 1853. William Banting named it the Banting diet after himself, and it consisted of eating fruits, vegetables, meat, and dry wine. Despite the fact that dieting has been around for over 150 years, parents should not diet because it hinders children's understanding of healthy eating. Taken from Purdue OWL. Sample writing an argumentative synthesis. Example of a quick synthesis. Parents are always, so I don't need to read this one again. This way. Example of writing argumentative synthesis. Example of quick synthesis. Okay. Comparison and contrast word for synthesizing source. Addition, compare, and contrast here. Furthermore, moreover, similarity. Additionally, in addition to, also, besides, again, in the same vein. Likewise, however, nevertheless, on the other hand, on the contrary, even so, alternatively, at the same time, though, otherwise, instead, nonetheless. Important takeaways. Remember this piece of advice. And in doubt, cite it. You can go to the original source. Citing sources is not something you do at the end of an assignment. It is an active process you engage in throughout the reading, researching, planning, and writing process. When combining sources, integrate them by using comparison, contrast words and putting them into conversation. If you do not have time to do much research and cite, it is better to write your original ideas than copy or paste from other sources, even if your ideas are not as well articulated or prepared. Some resources that might be helpful: citation guide and resources on Purdue OWL, links to different style guides, online citation and plagiarism checker tools. BeefMe has plagiarism checker, EasyBeef has plagiarism checker, Grammarly, good databases to use for research. JSTOR, Google Scholar, Browse Quiz, DOAJ, credible online news sources to consult for research. Radio Free Asia, South East Asia Globe, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Times Magazine. Sources, not bibliography. Thank you everyone for listening. This is just my first reading practice for this document, so apologize for any inconvenience. Yeah, thank you.